Comic-Con. How you guys doing? Fantastic. All right, we are going to be taking fan questions. But before we get into that, I love LA Comic-Con because you fans turn out. I love seeing the cosplay. I love seeing you guys wear your fandom on your sleeve. So everyone on this panel, what are some fandoms that you're into? They don't necessarily have to be like, like video games or comic books. What are some fandoms that you enjoy?
Go ahead.
Wilson, you got a Dodger hat on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Dodger fan. I didn't know we were like talking about sports and stuff.
Yeah, of course. Good time.
Yeah, I'm a Dodger fan. I know Eldon's a Dodger fan. He's repping.
So we got some baseball fandom. Vincent, Charlie, you guys got any fandoms that you're into?
Yeah, I'm a big Arsenal fan. It's a football team in the UK.
I know Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm a big Arsenal fan.
I think I'm a Wrexham guy. They're working their way to the top. They're working their way to the top. Vincent, how about you? Got nothing. Got nothing. We're gonna come back to you on that. Look, before we start getting into Daredevil, each of you have been in incredible projects that I kind of want to highlight real quick. And I want to start with you, Charlie, because you got to work early on in your career with Matthew Vaughn on Stardust. Can you share? Yeah, let's hear it for Stardust. Incredible film, incredible cast. Can you share any early memories working with Matthew and that incredible cast in that film?
Yeah, so the first memory that comes to mind is when we were rehearsing, we were getting ready to start shooting. It was like one of the first days of rehearsal. And I hadn't met anyone yet. I didn't know who was in this movie other than me. And they asked me to come down to Pinewood Studios to rehearse. And so I got in this car, I went down to Pinewood Studios outside London. And someone met me and they said, yeah, we're just going to do a little rehearsal with Bob. And I didn't know who Bob was. So I was like, okay, just, I followed along. And then we went into one of the studios and Mr. Robert De Niro was waiting in there. And I had to do a fencing rehearsal with Robert De Niro, which is pretty surreal moment for a 22-year-old actor.
Seems quite intimidating.
He's pretty cool
for a young actor. Speaking of young actors, Vincent, early on in your career, you worked with one of the most iconic directors of our time, Stanley Kubrick. Full Metal Jacket, still such an outstanding. Yes, let's hear it for that. Still an outstanding performance to this day. Incredible film and timely, by the way. But your character work, the roles that you take, you disappear into them. So working with Stanley, can you talk about that experience? And is there any bit of direction that he gave you or anything at all that he gave you that you still take with you today?
Well, so that was my first film. So I was very lucky. Yes. So I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for Stanley casting me in that. So I really didn't know much about anything other than theater at the time. And he, anybody that's ever worked with Kubrick will tell you that he doesn't direct you. Like he's very quiet. And if he feels like the scene isn't working, he would say stuff like, you have to do it better. To me, that was like, okay, Stanley Kubrick is putting me on the spot, so I better show up. You know what I mean? And so I remember that's the only thing he said to me, really said that anything to do with the character, is he was sort of checking on me. There's a scene in the movie, I don't know if you guys remember, but I killed a drill instructor and then I killed myself in the bathroom. Yeah. And the night before we were going to do that, Matthew Modine and I were walking back to our cars, and Stanley, and by the way, Stanley was a super nice guy. He wasn't what you might think he was if you know anything about what people say. He was a really sweet man, and he had this tick where before he would speak, he would go, so Matthew and I are walking to our cars, and I hear behind me, and I'm like, oh fuck, he's gonna say something. And I turn around and he goes, do you know what you're gonna do tomorrow? Because we were gonna shoot that scene in the morning. And I said, I think I do, yeah. And he didn't answer me, and he just nodded his head. And he said, it has to be big. It has to be Lon Chaney big, like that. And Matthew turned and looked at me, and I looked at Matthew because Matthew and I lived next door, literally like a half a block away from each other in London when we were shooting it. And he looked at me, and I looked at him because at my flat back at my flat, on the dining room table was a stack of black and white horror films that I had been watching, and a couple of them were Lon Chaney films. And so it was like a gift, like from nowhere, that he confirmed what I was about to try and get away with the next day. He confirmed to me in that same sentence that I was on the right track. I don't know how he knew or what. It was like magic.
Sometimes the universe just lines up like that. That's incredible.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Incredible story. Elden, for you, man, you were such a pivotal part of my childhood. I wanted to be a Bash brother. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was jealous of Kenny Wu. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But being a young actor in Hollywood, and working on the Mighty Ducks, and doing the acting thing. Can you talk about those early memories of acting alongside that ensemble cast? And also, who was the best skater out of all of the other Mighty Ducks?
That's a good question. Yeah, I can talk about both of those things. Probably my brother probably got the best after like the third movie. He got really good and kept playing hockey for a while. And yeah, those movies were really special. Up until that point, I had done a lot of, like one-line parts or like guest spots on TV shows and stuff. And that really changed everything for me. And yeah, and then also to get to do all three of those movies with my brother was insane. And I don't think I fully appreciated it at the time. When you're a kid, you just kind of like, all right, this is what's happening. Like, this is normal. I guess this is normal. But yeah, and it's funny, to this day, most of what people want signed is Mighty Ducks style. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, kind of cool that people still care about it a little bit. For me, when I was young, it was Bad News Bears was my, it was like my version of Mighty Ducks, So like, yeah, it's just a really special experience and still keep in touch with a lot of those people. And yeah, I really lucked out on that one.
Listen, we care. We absolutely care about the Mighty Ducks. For me, Mighty Ducks 2, D2, is my version of Rocky 4. So just to let you know.
So I showed my kids the Mighty Ducks for the first time, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And, it's like, it was my generation. So I'm interested to know, I didn't say that I knew you or anything like that. I just was like, we're going to watch this movie, and we put it on. And they fucking loved it.
It's incredible.
Absolutely loved it. And they don't actually respond to movies as much as TV in general. But that's one of those films they're already like, can we watch it? Can we watch it again?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I love that.
Wilson, for you,
I already know what you're gonna say.
do you?
Look, my 8th grade production of Guys and Dolls, yes. People are still talking about it. In certain circles, yeah, people come up to me, can I sign Nathan Detroit memorabilia?
That was the one-man show, right?
Yeah.
That's the talk of the
I've
town.
got all the parts. Anyway, all right. Go ahead.
Honestly, just this past year, you were in an incredible Netflix series, and I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but it's called Untamed. With Eric Bana, it is a fantastic series. And you play Shane McGuire, who's not terribly far off from Benjamin Poindexter, but he's definitely wired a little bit differently. But the last time I talked to you, there was these Native American symbols that would pop up in the episode with Sam Neill's character, and I asked you, do you know what all that was leading to? And you said, well, I'm having dinner with the showrunner tonight. I'm going to ask him. So I'm going to ask you now, did you get the answer for me on what those Native American symbol in Untamed mean?
No, I think that somehow slipped the conversation. Yeah.
I figured it was going to. No, but honestly, Untamed is a phenomenal show. I highly recommend checking it out. It's airing on Netflix currently. A fantastic show. But guys, you guys want to talk about Daredevil. Do we have any questions? There we are. Okay, where are our microphones at? If we could see. No, we have somebody roaming around. But
Throw this one out there.
I was down there in the last panel going down there. So any of you guys got questions, we are going to get to them. Raise your hand if you have the mic though. Down there. No? All right, guys, I'm taking one for the team. I'm gonna go down there and get some questions.
Can you crowd surf in there?
Wish me luck. Oh, here we go. They're coming out now. So, yeah, we have questions about Daredevil Season 2. But before we get into their fan questions, I too have one of my own. The show is called Born Again. That's obviously a famous comic book run that was done, but what does that term "born again" mean for each of your characters in season 1?
It's an interesting title for Charlie and I, if I may, because not just anything that has to do with the canon of Daredevil, but for Charlie and I, it was Born Again, the show. And I think for the studio too, and all the producers that were involved, and I think they were really looking to make it Born Again, from the Netflix show.
You know, season 2 on Netflix, the original season 2 was kind of the Born Again story, as close to it's done. We were never trying to do. I don't think they were ever trying to do the Born Again story. It's a nice kind of like tongue-in-cheek title because obviously the show had died and was coming back.
Oh, the show was killed,
You know,
murdered.
one thing that, by the way, Wilson, we are wearing the same color almost. I just realized. I mean, and Charlie pointed out backstage.
We look beautiful.
We do. I was at Fantastic Fest in Austin just this past week, and I ran into Justin Benson. And something that you guys may not know is he told me how much you guys care about these characters and this show. Like, you guys deeply care about these characters to the point now. I think Daredevil is probably some of the best stuff Marvel has been doing for a while. And I love the grounded nature of the series because it really does reflect kind of the world we live in. Obviously, there's superheroes in it, but it's a close reflection than other universes we may have. So, talk to me about the passion that you guys have for finding the characters of Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock and everybody else.
This is by far the longest job that I've ever had. And with any job I've ever done as an actor, I always, throw myself into it as much as I can. I really want to get to know the character. I really want to kind of understand, the tone of the piece and, just deliver as authentic and truthful and fun performance as possible with any character. So when you take that, I guess you'd call that, that's passion for my work. It's commitment, I guess, those kind of things. And when you take that and then you add 10 years to it, every time we come back to do another season, we're just doubling down on that passion that you referred to. So then on top of that, when we're not filming or on our weekends, we get to come to, Comic-Cons like this and meet the fans and hear what they have to say and how many people express to us how important these characters are or how important the show is to them or what it's meant for them in their lives. What's really cool is like we're meeting adults who love this show who were children when they first watched it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and it really was like impactful for them in a period of their lives when they were growing up and leaving high school and going to college and this kind of stuff. So, and that, that also kind of spurs us on to continue to try and do the best work we can. So, yeah. It's
also a lot happened when we were shooting it, when we started shooting Born Again. Charlie and I, from the very beginning, Charlie and I are friends and we communicate all the time. Not just because we like each other, but because we want the show to be the best it can. And we had many, many conversations about the fact that we were on a train that we felt we needed to stop. And it was a big decision to make for us to be truthful with the studio and with our bosses and producers. It wasn't something that we did just for the hell of it. We knew what we were doing. It was a big deal to stop a train that's moving fast, and it's a very expensive train. And so we started, basically our plan was to just give notes. We would talk about it. We were in on each of our own notes. We would share emails and send group emails, and none of it was working. they weren't taking us seriously. And then we finally got the ear of who we needed to get the ear of. And we were so lucky. Unfortunately, it wasn't as lucky for other people, but the actors went on strike. And when that happened, our bosses, the guys who run the studio, were allowed to look at the 6 we had shot. And that's when we started all over again.
And there was one thing conspicuously missing from the 6 episodes they shot, and that was Elden Henson and Wilson Bethel.
True.
I mean,
You were the glue. Turns out you guys were the glue.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the things, it was one of our first notes, if not our first note. In fact, I remember in this state, we got pitched the show at a table, and we were like, where's the rest of the cast? From the very first moment of the new show starting to leave the station, we were concerned.
Well, the right choice was definitely made. I'm happy that they listened to you guys because I can't see a world where there would be a different type of Daredevil not bringing back some of these iconic characters. It just doesn't make sense.
Look, to this day, I can't believe, first of all, fine, that's great. I appreciate it so much, but I just can't believe that our bosses listen to us. I mean, it's not a normal thing in Hollywood. You know, they're the bosses. It's their job. We're there to service the story. That's our job. That's all we do is actors service stories. That's what we do. It's not our job to turn around something. And the fact that these guys at Marvel were so cool enough to listen to us and actually take us seriously, I'll never forget that move that they made. It's just fantastic.
Oh, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing. Thanks, Mass. Guys, I know you have questions. I know we have microphones floating, so let's throw them out there. First question. Oh, point. You want me to point? Right here, right next to you.
Hi. I just want to say I'm actually a huge Heart of Dixie fan, and Wilson, you're my favorite character, so thank you for my comfort show. With that, I wanted to ask, was there a project that you guys worked on where you felt like this was a turning point in your career? Like, was there a moment where you're like, oh, this is my big break?
That 8th grade production, Guys and Dolls, I knew I was a star.
That 8th grade production. There we go. I got to find that playbill now.
Yeah, I didn't even know him back then, and I knew he was a star.
You heard.
From the, yeah. I don't even know where I would have heard that, but yeah.
You know, I think that's a really interesting question because you might hear that question and think it has to do with, you know, you work on a project and for whatever reason that project hits it big and it gets a lot of attention and that's a turning point in career. And, you know, often that will happen and then you get more opportunities. But what I think is more interesting about that is when you get an opportunity to do some work that is not in your comfort zone, and regardless of whether that production is seen by people, it can change your mentality and it can change the way you approach your work going forward. And I had a situation where I was a British actor, you know, like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and playing a lot of very earnest young men who were trying to, you know, like figure out their way in the world, that kind of stuff, right? Did something with Disney, something for Paramount that was like just very like who I kind of was as a human. And then those roles kind of started to dry up and I wasn't getting any work and I was really worried actually about what I was going to do with my life. And I got an opportunity to audition for Boardwalk Empire. And not, you know, people don't know me necessarily from that show, but that was the first time when I played that character. It was so different to who I was, and it involved so much outside research for the first time. And I think it's really what made me fall in love with acting in a whole new way, where I felt like I could disappear into someone else. And so for me personally, that was a big turning point in my career because it gave me the confidence to say, oh, I can play anything. I can do any character.
Yeah, Charlie is so right. I mean, it's a great question because there is many different ways to look at the answer to that. I think that for me, I just happened to be in New York when there was an incredible amount of amazing actors working at the time and studying while they were working. And so somehow, some way, I don't even know how it happened, I got in some of those circles and was basically given a helping hand by so many people that started working before me. And they pushed me into schools that I would have never gone to learn acting. Like I wouldn't have known about them. And so, and not just one school, but several where I had studied for years and years and traveled doing theater across the country. We used to do classic plays back to back at colleges. So we would skip across the country from college to college to college and do like Chekhov and Shakespeare in the same day. And early on in my career, I realized that I was gravitating towards not leading man parts, when at that time in my life I could have been playing leading man parts, and I was getting some of them, but I was never really interested in it. I was always interested in the more character driven parts, and that's where I sort of connected to acting, with learning from these amazing teachers that were in New York at the time. Some of them are most of them are gone now, they've passed away. And some of the actors that were studying under them and watching them fail in front of me, like great actors, and then succeed and fail and succeed and fail. And that put me psychologically in a place where I realized that I had an identity in acting, not just, I was looking for an identity in real life at that age, like as we all are, but I figured out my identity in acting right then, before I ever did a film. And so when I got Full Metal Jacket, by the grace of God, because of Matthew Modine put out a helping hand and said, "Hey, I'm shooting this thing in England, you should send a tape." And I'm like, "A tape?" And he's like, "Yeah, VHS." And I'm like, "A VHS?" Like the cameras were like this big back then, and you had to wear a deck over your shoulder. And so I went and rented a giant camera and a deck and sat on a stoop on 10th Avenue and 21st Street, stairwell, and me and my friend Steve, we shot a monologue from a play that I was doing at the time. And I sent it to Stanley Kubrick. I did all this because one of my peers told me to do it. And it was the exact kind of part that I knew that I could play. And so I think that pushed me forward and gave me an identity in this world of acting and Hollywood and stuff like that. And I think it was a lot easier for me. It was a big transition from not knowing that to knowing that. And I've never been scared of a part since then. So, yeah.
Awesome. Elton, how about for you? Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say one thing. That experience that you describe, growing up in New York with these older actors and learning your craft, that has been my experience with you on Daredevil. But it has. It truthfully has. Like, I have quote unquote grown up in the industry with you, watching you, working with you.
Is that why you've gotten so fucking good? Dude, we were doing
season 1. He was a little shaky, right?
If he's gonna, yeah.
Can I get a photo with you?
You got to go to his booth.
If he's gonna give me a compliment in front of all you guys, I'm gonna give him one. We were doing these scenes. Of course, I'm not gonna tell you anything about them in the second season, but they were not easy scenes to pull off. They were very intense. They were violent, and there was a lot of words.
It's so fucking cool as well. It's so cool.
So fucking cool. And his performance, it was only the two of us, and his performance coming at me, I didn't even have to act. I was just reacting off of this guy. So if I helped you do that, that's awesome, because he's great.
I love hearing stories like that. Incredible. Elden, how about for you? What was the moment for you?
It's kind of hard to say. I mean, I think it wasn't even really a job. So when I was young, I had this friend named Lewis, whose father, Nick Castle, was a writer and a director. And actually, fun fact, he was the guy who played the original guy in the mask in the original Halloween movie. And Lewis was like my best friend. I remember I'd go over there and spend the night all the time. And at night, he would tell Lewis a story. And they had all these characters, and Lewis would just pick characters, and he would make up these long, elaborate stories on the spot. And it was like a moment for me where I was like, whoa, like, this is about storytelling, and it can be anything, right? Like, when I first started acting, it was like because my parents put me into it. Like, I don't remember having like a desire to be an actor, and that moment was like, oh, there's something more to this than just like getting to get out of school, or you know what I mean? Like it changed something in me, and like all of a sudden I started like seeking out movies and like different stories, and like I love stories that are like about familiar things set like in an unfamiliar world, you know? And like once I kind of discovered that, like I was just obsessed, you know? It's just like nonstop watching movies, and you know what I mean? Like my Uncle Johnny and his roommate David was like right when HBO first came out, and he would record like and he had hundreds and hundreds of movies, and they were all categorized on these little note cards. And I loved going over there because I would just spend all day like watching movie after movie after movie after movie. And like, yeah, I think it was the first time I started thinking about things from like a storytelling standpoint as opposed to just like an actor and like what's going on with my characters.
Love that. Put your hands up. Let's see those. If you guys got questions. Ooh, those mics. There we go. Let's get this dude in the hat right here. Right. Yeah. There we go.
Hi guys. My question is, other than the characters you guys play in Marvel, for all four of you guys, what is the other character, like any character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, who would you like to play and why? It's a silly question, but yeah.
Like outside of characters, they've already played it.
Have to be in the Marvel universe.
Man, Swamp Thing I've heard is something that you want to play.
That's the one I want to play, but that's the other company.
I mean, I'd love to see it.
I mean, probably Spider-Man. It looks like a lot of fun. But I think I've aged out of that.
Charlie Elden, what do you got?
I'd like to give Bulleye a go.
Yeah.
We could do like a Freaky Friday Daredevil episode. What are these horns?
Elden, you got a Marvel character besides Foggy you like to play?
I don't know. I really like the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Big summer for that.
I love it. Vincent, I actually want to ask you about this Swamp Thing things. I also grew up a big Swamp Thing fan. I think Helen Moore's run was iconic, absolutely amazing. What is it about that character that you want to sink your teeth into?
I've always been attracted to people that are broken, and he's like broken.
Yeah.
He's not only heartbroken, but his whole life broken to a million pieces, and he's like, it's like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's like, he's not attractive. He lives in a swamp. It's tough, and he's in love, and that's an incredible thing. So the idea, and also the narration, if you remember all the words, he was so emotional.
Yeah.
And in times so touching. I couldn't believe it when by the time the run of Swamp Thing that I read I was in my late 20s or 30s already, something like that. But I think it's just his emotional life, I think, is what's attracted me. I'm never going to get the chance to play it.
I wouldn't say never.
The problem is that Vincent never got cast as Swamp Thing. Vincent being Vincent, 6 months before shooting was supposed to start, he would launch himself in a swamp somewhere. And when the first secret cameras were going to roll, the production would be like, we got to find Vincent now. He's fucking buried in a swamp.
He comes in from the swamp.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think
Vincent, if you're in there, we lost funding, buddy. We need you to come home now.
All right, let's take another question. We have one over here.
Purple man. Come
Purple
on,
man.
Purple.
The guy with the purple. There we go.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello.
So this is kind of a two-parter, but would you prefer to see Matt Murdock or Frank Castle in the real world doing their justice, their form of justice?
Okay, so the question
Last-
was,
Half of your sentence I didn't.
would you rather see Matt Murdock or Frank Castle doing their type of justice in the real world? Is that correct?
Right, correct. And
That was the question.
Yeah.
That's a rough one.
I think they're probably children in the audience. I don't think in real life that form of justice should be engaged upon in any way, shape, or form. It is strictly a fictionalized, over the top version.
Yes.
I think
Believe me, if you were
the Matt Murdock's form of justice, through the judicial branch of government should be.
I mean, there's sometimes on our set, if you were on our set with us and you looked around, you would not want to be living in that world.
Yeah.
It's nasty and violent and hardcore, and it's just, entertainment. Yeah.
Thank you. We have another question. Let's go back here. There you go. Put your hand up if you had a question. There you are.
Hello. My name is Andrew. Daredevil is known for some amazing fight scenes. The camera work.
Close your mouth.
Oh, thank you. Is known for some amazing fight scenes. The choreograph is spectacular. I just want to know, like, what goes through your guys' minds trying to do that dance, but also with the camera. Also, Elden, I know you're coming back.
That's
Sorry,
a
dude.
two-part question.
sorry, dude.
First part of that is the fight choreography, working with the fight choreography and with the camera. Second part of that's for Eldon, and I'm pretty sure you heard what the question was. When is Eldon coming back?
He's not.
Eldon, that is Foggy Nelson Born Again, season 2.
I hate to be the bearer of that. It's just not happening.
Will break our hearts, man. Well, I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
That's an awesome question, and actually we don't talk about this much. It is so what the stunt team come up with, and what they come up with in terms of how we. So you design a fight, but when you're designing a fight, you're designing it not just like this, like punch, kick, headbutt. It's also you're designing how to tell that story with the camera, and there is some stuff that we do which is so technical, and it almost, part of the identity of our show is as much of the stunts as we can do is practical. So it's not CGI. It is, we are doing that stuff. And, sometimes it's us, sometimes it's a stunt double.
I actually shot Eldon.
This is true.
But we did a shot where like, this is just one example today, it's in the past. We did a shot where, I'm being held up against a wall, and there's bad guys on both my arms, right? But they want to start on my face, and then they want to bring the camera around to see the next guy coming, right? But the guy who's holding this arm can't be there. So this is just a minor example, but it's the kind of thing we're doing day in, day out. So that guy is waiting behind camera. They start the shot. I've got my arm like this. The camera moves, and right as it moves, this guy has to get his hand in there so that it looks like he was holding me the whole time. And that's a really good example of like having to try and tell the scene, to tell the story of the action, but working with the camera to tell it in the most interesting way.
Well,
It's really fun.
the coolest example that I remember of this is in the opening action sequence of Born Again, where Eldon gets shot. And I don't even know I don't even think it made it into the final cut of the episode, but there was a shot where Charlie was swinging in, right, to save the day. And we were shooting this on the street in Brooklyn at like 4:00 in the morning or whatever. And they rig up the camera operator to a crane.
Yeah, that's right.
4 stories high. And you've got a stunt man who's wearing the Daredevil.
Nico, Nico, the stunt, my stunt double.
And you've got the camera guy right behind it, and Nico jumps off of a 4-story crane swinging down, and a camera guy, our stunt coordinator Phil Silvera, with a full camera rig on his chest, then jumps off the same crane directly behind him, swinging to catch the shot. I mean, it was like insane.
So the camera operator was doing a stunt to film the stunt.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in one of the takes, Phil got caught in the rig. Like it was really scary. He got caught in the rig. It was like, anyway, it's like the camera work on the show, to your point, is like meticulously thought about. And as Charlie was saying, it is like, it's the kind of stuff that you don't always get to see the behind the scenes that viewers, especially because these are just like fast cuts, but like incredible work goes into this stuff.
They deliver these very detailed, what they call previses to us, where the stunt guy, our coordinator Phil, they actually shoot the stunt scene and then they bring it to us and we get to see it. I mean, it's a whip too. You could call it a whip, a work in progress as well. But we see these things, and I'll never forget the first time, because I had never done that, because I started working 30 years before any of these little pipsqueaks here. And I remember the first day I got a previs, and I'm like, who the fuck are these people telling me what to do? I was like so old school, and I'm like, no. And I was sitting on my couch, and then my youngest was next to me. And he goes, "What are you looking at?" And I'm like, "Nonsense, you don't want to see it." And he took it from me and he watched it. And I watched his face. He was like, "This is so cool." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, fine." And so from now on, I'm like, love previses like everybody else. And it's like the best way, because they show us whether it's going to work or not. And what Charlie was saying about the story element, they're telling the story, as well as doing a really good kick-ass fight scene. It's amazing all the work that's put into that.
Unsung heroes, man. Those are some unsung heroes you guys have.
Yeah, but now they have an Academy Award, right?
They have an Academy Award. There you go. Hard work pays off.
Yeah.
Vincent, I have a fan theory question that's been burning in me for a long time that I just want to ask you. In the last season of in Daredevil Born Again, we see Wilson Fisk crush a dude's head. Like legit crush a dude's head. Does Wilson Fisk have any super serum running through him at this point now, when he had to get his eye healed from Echo? No super serum. That's all Fisk. All right.
It's all Fisk, yeah.
Okay.
It's it's all Fisk.
Okay. Back to your guys' questions. Thank you for clearing that up. We'll go right here with you in the glasses right here. Yeah.
Hi. So I want to know, what was it like playing these characters again after all that time between like Daredevil and Daredevil Born Again? How was the experience different?
So fun. I mean, can you imagine having a job like this? I mean, it's like so much fun. I get to create this batshit crazy human being, that everybody relates to for some reason. Like it's just an extraordinary amount of fun. I mean, it's hard work. I mean, it's not digging ditches, but it is hard work, and not just the actors; it's everybody involved, And it was when we got the word, it was like, can you imagine getting that word? I mean, talking to Kevin Feige on the phone for the first time, and him telling you, "Hey, welcome to the MCU." It's like, wow, okay. Like, never in my life did I think that I would even give a fuck about the MCU. Now it's like, wow, this is fucking great, because I love the character and I love what ever since Iron Man, what they did, and like it was like I was with you guys. I was like a total fan. And the idea that our little show on Netflix was being invited to this bigger platform, and that we were not the stepchild. Well, we still are kind of the stepchild, but the stepchild got their own room, and I just can't say anything more than that. It's so much fun.
It's also worth noting that like this is true. This show truly has one of the greatest casts, one of the best groups of people that you could possibly. So part of the joy of getting that call is just being like, oh shit, I get to go back to summer camp, you know, and that's
And that's not to be underestimated as well. Like that is really true. Like it's it's a really good bunch of people, and we all get on, and we're all passionate, and there's no bad eggs. I mean, maybe Wilson a little bit sometimes, but I get cranky. But I tell you what's really fun about what you just asked. I didn't grow up reading comics. When I heard about Daredevil, I thought it was like Evil Knievel. I thought it was like a Daredevil. I didn't know he was a Marvel superhero. I knew nothing. So when we were shooting those first few seasons on Netflix, I would read the scripts and I'd read things and I just didn't get. There was some stuff I just didn't really get it. You know, I remember like in the first season, there's an episode where my character goes to Melvin Potter's house. I don't know who Melvin Potter is, and then there was a reference to stilts in the corner, and I was like, what a weird. I don't know what that means. It didn't mean anything to me. Now, having come to these conventions and met the fans and seen the reaction and read what people have said and heard what people, and having read so many comics at this point, I now read these scripts. We read these scripts, and like something will happen. I'll be like, oh, that's so cool. Like I can imagine how the fans are gonna respond to it. And like, obviously I can't say anything, but there's a couple of moments in this next season which are so cool, and so it's really fun to kind of be able to keep making the show whilst also now having become, so aware of what people respond to.
Well, look, Vincent, you called it the stepchild. I think Daredevil's the prodigal son returning to the MCU. There we go, right? But you guys have been...
I like that.
Yeah, you guys have been fantastic. Thank you so much for your time and your generosity. I mean, thank you, LA, for coming out and enjoying Daredevil.